The season is changing. Fall has arrived, and with it, an energetic slowdown. Over the last few years, I have come to deeply love and embrace this time of year. The overwhelming feelings of warmth, coziness, embrace, and the heartiness of this season. This whole moment, this whole transition makes my soul sing. It also makes me want acoustic music, a warm fire, soup, a hot toddy, which I currently have right now, fresh bread, and the sense of cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, and allspice in just every corner of the house. It reminds me of the times around the kitchen, creating with the women who came before me and feeding the men who supported me. This time for me really draws on core memories, not just of the earlier parts of my life, but also of times long since gone. As we welcome the fall season, I invite you to join me today in the next episode of the 12th House podcast. My name is Maloney Adams from Habitual Sages, and together we are embarking on a journey of nourishing the soul, healing through the ritual of cooking. We will go over the ritual aspects of cooking, lessons learned, and how cooking can heal. Your seat at the table is reserved. Let's savor the flavors of our past and present and nourish the soul together. I'd love to hear about your favorite fall memories and traditions, so feel free to share in the comments as we delve into this comforting and soulful episode. Ritual is nothing more than a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. When you apply that logic to cooking, you quickly see it is a ritual. No matter if you're preparing a quick meal or baking a pie from scratch, you gather ingredients, follow a recipe, begin to mix and create, and finalize the meal. And then you get to enjoy. You repeat that over and over for every meal. Beyond this surface level example, how else can we find ritual in cooking? My mother and Nana spent every Sunday the same way. My Nana cooks waffles for the two of them with a passed down recipe for homemade syrup that is literally the star of the show. The recipe is handwritten on a card and pencil. The waffle iron has been passed down from my great grandma, and my mother introduced my sister and me to this tradition very early on in our lives. The role of the cook has switched back and forth between my mother and my grandmother a few times, but the ritual still remains to this day. In fact, we are recording on a Saturday. I guarantee you tomorrow they will be enjoying homemade syrup and waffles. My husband and I also created a ritual when we moved to Texas. Typically on Sundays, we would go outside, play dominoes, sip whiskey, smoke cigars, listen to music, and my husband would barbecue our meals for the week. We talked, connected, laughed, and incorporated our ancestors into the moment. This was an adaptation of the moon rituals we would do in Hawaii, allowing our ritual to grow and expand as we did coming over to Texas. When we consciously connect to the ritual of cooking, we create magic within and around us. It always starts with the vibe. For myself, I find the perfect playlist, and for fall, that's normally some version of like classical, soul, or acoustic style music. And you can always catch my vibes on Apple Music via curated playlists, including one that I am specifically designing for this episode that features artists like Bon Iver and lots of folky acoustic vibes. That will be up shortly. The other things that I like to do when I'm getting into the ritual of cooking is starting a fire, lighting incense and candles, getting the space clean, maybe getting a beverage like this hot toddy, and call on the ancestors to set the stage. Then it's time to create. Normally, I'm not just cooking one thing. We meal prep, so I usually have hard-boiled eggs, bacon, and dinners kind of all going on at the same time. Cooking truly allows me to be present. It creates this sense of peace and mindfulness where my mind can freely wonder and imagine. I feel relaxed, centered, and connected. And because of that, It's one of the places where ideas happen. So do you have any cooking rituals that bring you a sense of magic and connection? I'd love to hear about them. So feel free to share your own experiences and traditions in the comments as we explore these lessons, these ideas that happen from cooking. And if cooking helps ideas flow, it absolutely creates infinite opportunities to learn great life lessons. In order to cook, you have to be willing to follow a recipe, follow an elder, follow often with very little direction given, especially if you're used to cooking with others. It's like, oh yeah, just, throw that in there. You just need a pinch. You just need this. And follow even when the stress of the outcome is like gripping you and you're just, not sure if this is all going to work out. You want it perfect or to taste like it did when you were a child. But that is the beauty of cooking, because like life, cooking is neither perfect or what you experienced cooking in the past to be. Cooking is directly in the present, and it gives you lessons you need when you need them. The last lesson I got a few weeks ago when I was cooking hard-boiled eggs. So funny that it was hard-boiled eggs, but I often cook hard-boiled eggs. However, I had to learn a new way to do it. I no longer have my passed down, my Nana's old egg timer or egg punch to guide me. So I had to go to Google and go back to the basics. I found out that you don't need egg timers or egg punches. You can simply use nothing but water, salt, a timer, and an ice bath. Who knew? That's not how I did it. That's not how I grew up doing it. So now when I looked online, there were specific instructions on timing for each of those steps. Me being the cook I am, of course, I winged it the first few times. Why would I not? Needless to say, my hard-boiled eggs did not peel easy, and I had less egg than intended when all was done. And that happened for a couple of weeks, because that's how I am. So 2 weeks ago, I actually used the ice bath for the ice bath. Yes, you can insert an eye roll here. I actually put ice in the water, created the ice bath, not just cool water, and I left the eggs in there for at least the recommended time. I'm pretty sure it was over the recommended time because I was doing a lot of other stuff. But would you guess what happened? Perfect freaking eggs. Perfect. Easy to deshell, pretty. They were happy. They tasted great. They were perfectly hard-boiled eggs. And I immediately heard the lesson come. When you actually follow the directions, things turn out. As I peeled the 10 eggs, I knew that the lesson was correlated to my work on my patience, my humility, and my understanding of simplicity. Things don't always have to be complex. And again, if you just follow the directions and have a little bit of patience, it all turns out in the end. So going into the healing power of cooking, I was very blessed as a child. I was blessed to have two parents in the home, my mother and my father. I was also blessed enough to be raised in the kitchen by my mother and my grandmother, raised in an extremely traditional manner. My mother didn't work. She was a stay-at-home mom. We lived overseas in a mining town and a very, very small town in the middle of a rainforest in the middle of Indonesia. So it was very traditional. And during that time, the women were the one that cooked for the family. That's how I grew up. We spent a lot of time in the kitchen, especially during the fall and winter. Thanksgiving and Christmas were always huge times in the kitchen for us. And it was a place where memories were made. A lot of love was felt in the kitchen. The world made a little more sense. It wasn't a place of judgment. It wasn't a place of anger. We never had fights in the kitchen that I can recall. But it was also a source of addiction for myself that I ended up having to heal through my 20s, heal through my 30s, because cooking became the way that you showed or you got your love from others. And this is how you took care of your family. So while that concept's right. And while that hasn't changed, through my 20s and 30s, I took those lessons, I took what I thought were these lessons into an extreme state where it became toxic, where I would feel like I cooked for you. Why are you not grateful that I'm providing for you? Like, this is my role. And I would do everything to make sure that I was the one that had the control of the kitchen. So that way, it was that traditional role, and that's what I was supposed to do. And I took it into a toxic extreme. Instead, what I should have been doing, and what I now incorporate into my practice, is, that feeling of overwhelming gratitude and the joy, the absolute joy that comes from my heart in being able to bless those that I love with the nourishment. So, it was, when you talk about healing power of cooking, it's one of those moments where, you got to go back and you've got to just stay in that gratitude. I am blessed to be able to provide this nourishment for my family. My mom and Nana also absolutely came from an age where you pass down everything. And our kitchen was full of instruments of cooking and cookbooks that had been touched and used by my ancestors in countries far, far away, and a time literally nobody remembers anymore. We have waffle irons, iron pans, fish settings, coffee grinders, presses, spice cabinets, umpteen cookbooks and note cards written in pencil, like smudged, barely audible or legible. And all of that got passed down in the kitchen. I didn't know it then or appreciate it in the full way that I do now, that there is so much wisdom and so much beautiful energy embedded in these items. The generations of traditional recipes, the carrying the secrets of nourishing not only our body, but our soul. And all of that is it's just waiting to be uncovered. It's waiting there to unearth, to begin to use again, to begin to invoke. So now in my practice, I cook to truly heal, thrive, and grow. Heal my own traumas with my mother and women in general, heal my ancestral trauma, grow in my wisdom and understanding of life's lessons, grow closer to my ancestors and those that I love, thrive in the emotional and spiritual nourishment that this practice brings me. We share with our meals with our ancestors. We share our drinks with our ancestors. We share the good times, the bad. And I find myself sometimes while I'm cooking surrounded by all of the crones of mine and my husband's lineage. I can hear the chatting, I can feel it, I can feel the people around me, the love and the embrace that brings. And my mind ends up just wandering away, conjuring up images of lands far, far away where, kitchen is the space of community. And it's the space where the elders can impart deep blessings onto the children and onto those that are younger than them. My roots are Baltic and Celtic. I derive from the Baltic and Norwegian areas of Europe, and my father was adopted into an Irish family. And that connection is something that's still incredibly strong inside me. I adore Ireland. I adore Irish culture. It's one of my favorite places to visit, and the lessons that I have gained from that island in the north has supported me in so many ways in so many years later. And one thing that has been very present for me lately, and it ties back to my last trip to Ireland with my husband, was this beautiful drink that I have right here, this good old hot toddy. Talk about healing. So not only am I connecting back to memories, recent memories of this amazing trip that we had, but I also, through this, get to connect back to my ancestors and how they used ingredients, they used cooking, they used food as medicine to heal the body. And in turn, I am also healing my physical body. It's been a rough fall season in Texas. I didn't know that cotton's a thing, and cotton for me causes allergies, and then, it kicks into that sinus ick. And a few weeks ago, I was traveling up in Wisconsin, not feeling well. I was incredibly tired. There was a lot going on. And the last day I was there, I was done. I was just so done. And I wasn't even sure if I was going to go down and have dinner, but I heard very, very, very clearly hot toddy, soup, and salad. And now I listen when I get messages like that. I'm pretty strong on my intuition. I know what happens when I don't follow those nudges, and I know what happens when I do. And I'm much more like what happens when I do. So I took my body downstairs, sat in the bar and was like, can you make me a hot toddy? And he was like, I've got all the ingredients, so sure, why not? And I had my soup, had my salad. And mind you, during this time, I had just gotten off of 75 hard. I had not put a green into my body in over 75 days. I did carnivore through my 75 hard. So having soup and a salad that had all of these things in it that I had just been not, and I felt really great with where I was with my eating habits and stuff like that. So there was that pull too, to be like, oh, do I really want to break this stride? But again, when you get those nudges, I know what happens when I don't follow them, and I know what happens when I do. So I listened, had soup, had a salad, had a hot toddy while I ate those, took a hot toddy back up to my room, was in bed. I think it was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, woke up feeling absolutely stunning. We were good. We were on and popping. It was wonderful. Got back on the airplane, got home, felt fantastic. So hearing that now through the rest of September and into October, hot toddy's it's on the menu. It's been on the menu. So with that, what I did want to share is I will be sharing my recipe for hot toddies, and it's not really mine. Like, I found it online, obviously, so I will definitely put the website where you can find it. But the one that I have been working with and the one that I've been really enjoying, I will put in the comments, along with a stew that I will be making tonight for dinner. In fact, I'm going to probably start prepping and everything right after this. So I will put both of those in the comments, and I would love for you to share any traditional homespun, any recipe that you feel like really connects you into your healing, into your ancestry, into like just feeling good in the kitchen. I'd also love to hear about any cooking or life lessons you have learned in the kitchen, your stories and insights. So please share them in the comments. Thank you for joining me for this second episode of the 12th House podcast, where we took an exploration of heritage, flavor, and the extraordinary healing power of cooking. It was a journey through kitchens filled with the laughter of generations past, where the crackling of spices and the sizzling ingredients created more than just meals. They invoked the memories, traditions, and shared experiences that we all have. I hope that you enjoy your day today and enjoy whatever culinary journeys you take. If you have any stories, questions, or comments, make sure to leave them. And if you are not already, make sure to follow and subscribe. And if this was of value to you, exchange that energy by sharing this episode with others. Till next time, may our ancestors always bless, guide, and support us, and our Aries work with us as we go down our destiny path. Ashe, Ashe.